Okay, on the screen, I have some API documentation. This is for a RESTful API. And you can see here, we have the list beers. This describes the query parameters that we can pass along in the URL for the request. And then also it describes the response. So you can see the content that is expected. And let's take a closer look at the content. So you can see that the content is going to be under the content property of the response. We'll have an array of different beers. So this is a request to get beers from the server. And if you wish to try this yourself, come over here. You can see we have the api.springframework.guru/API/v1 beer. So what I'm going to do now is I want to take a closer look at this inside of Postman and show you what we've been talking about as far as the request, response, and headers and whatnot. So I'm going to toggle over to Postman. So here we are doing a get. So remember the different verbs that we talked about. So in this case, we are doing a get from this URL. So we're using regular HTTP, not HTTPS, ://, and then this is the server address, and then the path is /API v1 beer. So if I send that, you can see that it goes out and provides that. Now, when I sent that, there's no authorization. Now, these are the headers that were sent by Postman. So you can see cache control, Postman token, that was going to be in the header. Content type, we are asking the server to return back application to JSON. The length is calculated when sent. Host is calculated. We are also providing, or Postman, I should say, is providing a header with user agent. Accept encoding, so this tells the server what will be acceptable for us, whether it's gzip, deflate, or BR. And then connection is going to be keep alive. So that tells us that we want to keep the connection alive between this and the server. And there should have been nobody. That wouldn't be sending a request. That was from some previous testing. And I'm not sure if settings on. I'm just double checking. So nothing there for our purposes. The key is to be aware that the server is going to receive these headers. Now, here in the bottom, let me resize this a little bit. This is the raw response that was come back. So we got a JSON document, and Postman does give us the option to do pretty. So definitely makes JSON a little bit more readable by the human eye, but it's important to understand that space is being saved so we don't have all the line terminations and spaces in there. This is how it actually comes back. Pretty is just for our formatting to see it. The server did not return back any cookies, but it did. This is actually values that are being returned back in the headers and HTTP headers coming back from the server. So you can see here, content type, transfer encoding, saying that it's chunked. Connection, CF array, I'm actually not sure what those mean, to be honest. And you can see here, just a variety of different things. And server is Cloudflare, so I'm actually running my URL on Cloudflare. And you can see content encoding. So a number of variety of things that are coming back. Here you can see that we have a status of HTTP OK. And this is an interesting graph. What happens is we get the timing back, just the milliseconds of what happens. Now the request comes back. We get you can see we have a socket initialization. DNS was from a cache. TCP handshake was a cache. It took 1.32 milliseconds for the transfer to start, and the download took 4.8 milliseconds. So these are all metrics that you can see in what came back from the server, the actual network traffic. But the key takeaway that I want you to understand right now in an HTTP context, Postman did a GET request against the server, against the server path, or the path here, sent it these headers, and the very important one is content type. So we're asking the server to return back application JSON, and the server actually returned us back an HTTP response that had these header values, and then it also had this JSON body. So this JSON content was brought back from the server. So very simple request, but you can see how using HTTP, we made a request. The request went out with the different parameters, the headers and whatnot, to that path, and the server responded back with a set of headers and a body of JSON.